Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, Nebraska, it's the Seminoles of Florida State taking on the Cornhuskers of the University of Nebraska. This game is the exclusive copyrighted property of WECA, and no portion of the game may be used without their express permission. Now, here's Tom Meese and Jim Crosby at Memorial Stadium.
Live from Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, Nebraska, 27 Sports presents Florida State football. This afternoon, the Seminoles of Florida State battle the third-ranked Cornhuskers of the University of Nebraska. Hi, everyone. I'm Tom Meese in company with 27 Sports Director Jim Crosby. And Jim, the Seminoles, after last week's heartbreaking 10-9 loss at the Orange Bowl to the University of Miami, may make some changes this afternoon.
Tom, even though it was just a one-point loss, Coach Bowden has demonstrated he's not going to stand pat. He's made 5 changes. Hardis Johnson moves in a wide receiver position. Zeke Mowat moves in at tight end. Ricky Williams at tailback. And Eric Ryan at guard. And, of course, the big move is a walk-on at center, Jerry Coleman.
The Florida State defense is still ranked among the best in the nation, but the rushing offense at the University of Nebraska is ranked number 1, and that may present some problems for the Seminole defense.
I look for the Seminole offense, though, to go to a 3-wide receiver offense just like they did in the closing drive against Miami.
The key players to watch today, Rick Stockstill, the quarterback of the Seminoles, who will be putting the ball up in the air quite often, a lot more than he did last week, and marvelous Jarvis Redwine, who averages 8.3 yards every time he carries the football for Nebraska. It should be a great one. Stay with us for Florida State and Nebraska. Jim and I will be back with the opening kickoff in just a moment. It is a sea of red in Lincoln, Nebraska's sold-out Memorial Stadium, the 108th consecutive time that the Cornhuskers of Nebraska have sold out, and with good reason this week. The undefeated and third-ranked Cornhuskers against the 3-1 and either 16th or 18th ranked Seminoles of Florida State, depending upon which poll you believe. I'm Tom Meese with Jim Crosby. Jim, the captains have been at the center of the field, and we're just about set for what I think is going to be one humdinger of a football game.
You couldn't ask for better weather, Tom. It's just a beautiful day. If you like the color red, you'll love it here. And it's about 64 degrees at game time. The wind's out of the north about 5 to 12 miles per hour, and the humidity at 59%. It's just a beautiful day for football.
There you see the Florida State Seminole cheerleaders adorned in garnet and gold, and as you may surmise, there's a lot more red and white in the stadium today than garnet and gold, but we hope that we can bring you a Florida State victory before the afternoon is over. Florida State University is deploying to return the opening kickoff. The Seminoles won the opening kickoff. And Jim, we'll get a chance, unless there's a turnover on the kickoff, which we hope doesn't occur, a chance to see if Rick Stockstill in the offense will put it up right from the beginning against an awfully rugged Nebraska rushing defense.
It's going to be very interesting because Nebraska has a reckless gambling-type defense, as I'm sure people heard in the pregame show. Coach Henshaw told me this week that it doesn't seem like their defense cares if they make a big mistake because they know their offense will get it back for them.
Larry Harris, Dennis McKinnon, and Michael Whiting are back in triple safety to receive the kickoff from Nebraska, and doing the kicking off will be number 49, Kevin Seibel. You see him there putting the ball up on the tee. The officials are from the Big 8 primarily today. The chief referee will be Howard Rowe. The umpire, Dennis Riggs, the linesman, Frank Ellis, line judge, Hunter Jackson, field judge, Edward Shannon, and the back judge, Tom Rolls. We're set to go. Nebraska 3-0 with wins over Utah, Iowa, and last week Penn State. The Seminoles 3-1, losing their only game of the season last week at the Orange Bowl. And the Cornhusker fans and Seminole fans here at Memorial Stadium are ready and set, and we're underway. There's Seibel's kickoff. This is a boomer deep in the end zone, and out of the end zone it goes. McKinnon just looks at it, says we'll take the ball 1st and 10 on the 20-yard line.
Kevin Seibel has been known to kick them right through the uprights on those kickoffs, Tom, and it's kind of disheartening when a team scores on you and then they kick the kickoff right through the uprights.
All right, that Florida State offensive line as the Seminoles go 1st and 10. At center will be Jerry Coleman, number 56, and this is the key substitution, Jim, this week.
He's a walk-on, not even on scholarship, but he snapped every snap perfect in a JV game last week.
1st and 10 for the Seminoles. Stockstill at quarterback, of course. In motion goes Phil Williams. The backs in the I formation. Stockstill going to come out throwing. And the ball is intended out of the backfield for Ricky Williams, but Rick Stockstill overthrew him. It'll be 2nd and 10.
Ricky Williams starting in place of Sam Platt, and one of the reasons that Williams is starting is because he had a pretty good performance against Miami last week, and Coach Bowden just doesn't want to stand pat with a loss, and Williams, of course, has great speed. They'd love to isolate him on a linebacker out there.
Zeke Malwat started the game, but Sam Childers bringing into play a tight end from Coach Bobby Bowden. It's second down, 10 yards to go. Whiting and Williams are the setbacks in the I formation. Again, Stockstill back to throw. Got some time. Now being rushed. He's got to get rid of it. He'll be taken down for a loss back at the 10-yard line. And bringing him down is left defensive end Jimmy Williams out of Washington, D.C.
And, all right, let's take a look at it on the replay. Here's Rick Stockstill back. And he is hit by Williams, who has 4.5 speed for a defensive end. And the other defensive end, who is Derry Nelson, who is an all Big 8, and they think an All-American out here, is 4.6. So they've got good defensive end play.
So passing down early in the ball game, and a loss of 9 on the play. Third down to 19 from the 11. Stockstill all the time he wants. He goes out of the backfield to Whiting. Michael Whiting got some room. Michael Whiting up to the 25. He did not get the first down, but at least, Jim, he gives Florida State decent position from which to punt the football.
And they're trying to loosen up that defense as you see the teams switching as the punter comes on, Ron Stark, and we'll have to hope that he has the same kind of punting day he did last week. All right, here's the last play on the replay. Rick Stockstill throwing to Mike Whiting. You see Futch out in front of him, and Whiting cuts back, and there's just too many defenders around there for him to go all the way.
Dave Legal is back to receive the punt for the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and there is Stark's punt. It is a relatively short one. It'll bound at the 40-yard line, heads toward the sideline now, and rolls out of bounds at the Nebraska Cornhusker 37, where it will be first down and 10 yards to go for an offense which leads the nation in rushing. They average nearly 500 yards a game rushing the football, about 130 passing, so the Florida State defense, no doubt one of the best in the country, will be up against it this afternoon.
Okay, we'll be looking for number 12 to get the ball quickly. Jarvis Redwine.
I love that name.
8.3 yards to carry. They call him Marvelous Jarvis out here.
Jarvis Redwine. Andra Franklin is the up back in the I. Redwine is the tailback, or what they call the I back at Nebraska. One of the backs goes in motion, and here's Redwine with a pitch out, and Redwine gains about 4 up to the 41-yard line. Also in the backfield for the Nebraska Cornhuskers on that play, number 24, Tim McCready, who played a lot against Penn State last week, and just as I say that, he leaves the lineup.
One encouraging sign for Seminole fans, number 50 in there. Ron Simmons is playing.
Todd Brown is split to the top of your screen. He is one of the split ends, and Mitch Crank is split to the bottom of your screen. It'll be second down, and they call it 6 yards to go. To give us to Redwine, the I back. He is stopped for almost no gain. Reggie Herring is in there, along with Gary Futch and a whole host of Seminoles. It'll be a gain of maybe a yard on the play, bringing up third down and 4.
Jarvis Redwine gained 179 yards against Utah, 153 against Iowa, and against a tough Penn State team last week, 189 yards. The Seminoles will love to hold him under 100. If they do, they think they got a good shot at this game.
Third down and 4. Again, the backs in the eye. You'll see that formation all day long by Nebraska. Ball at the 43. Back in motion for the Cornhuskers is McCready. Back to pass Quinn over the middle. It is complete to his big tight end. Quinn hits the tight end Jeff Finn. So we have the combination of Quinn to Finn, and let's take another look at it coming up.
All right, the Quinn to Finn combination. And you see Jeff Quinn, who is a pretty accurate passer. He does a lot of short passing off of these play-action plays. They like to get you looking for Redwine or for Franklin and fake it to them and throw.
First and 10 for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. They call it at the Nebraska 49-yard line. Just underway here. I'm Tom Mees with Jim Crosby on Tallahassee's 27. Another exclusive telecast of Florida State football. Quinn can't make up his mind what to do with it, so he keeps it, and he gains about 7 yards down to the Seminole 44. Before bringing him down is Jarvis Corsi, defensive end.
Tom, I think one of the keys to this game is how well this defensive line for FSU can penetrate through the big offensive line of Nebraska, because last week Penn State would sit back and wait and watch to see what was going to happen in the backfield, and if you let this quarterback have any time, you've had it.
Tim McCready split to the bottom of your screen. He's one wide receiver along with John Noonan. So a couple of surprises there. Here's the pitch back to Redwine. He's tripped up. Nice play by Florida State's James Harris coming up and tripping up Redwine short of the first down. They will mark the ball on the 40. Well, it's nearer the 42-yard line, so it's about a yard and a half short third down.
That was a heads-up defensive play by cornerback James Harris, who seems to get better and better each week, Tom. He came up very quickly and put the hit on Redwine and brought him down one-on-one.
Well, Redwine leaves the game. Craig Johnson, number 30, replaces him at tailback. Andra Franklin is still in there at the up back. Franklin is the blocker, and the give on the pitch back is to Johnson. It'll be close, but I believe he has achieved the first down at the Seminole 40.
33.
We may have a measurement here. The referee is calling for timeout. They mark it right at the 40-yard line, and that should be a first down. And it is. First and 10 for the Cornhuskers, so Nebraska on the drive early, Jim.
It'll be tough to get behind here and have to come from behind to win a game under these circumstances with all this sea of red overlooking you. So the Seminoles need to stop them right here.
I think sometimes I'm in Moscow with all this red here. Anthony Steele is split out wide to the right. Noonan is split out to the top left. The back's in the eye, and Quinn back to throw on first down. He goes for the eye back, Craig Johnson. And Johnson gathers it in for a gain of about 5 yards down to the 35-yard line before he is tackled by Paul Borowski.
Okay, we'll have a replay on this one as we watch Jeff Finn. They've got him set up in the eye. Jarvis Redwine not in there right now. He throws it over to Johnson, and Johnson was isolated on Harris and made a nice cutback for a big gain.
Jarvis Redwine inserted back in the ball game now. It'll be second down and 5 for the Cornhuskers at the Florida State 35. Quinn over the middle, almost intercepted. Intended for the tight end on that play. Intended for Jeff Finn. And he overthrew Finn. In the general area was Bobby Butler, but I don't believe he ever saw the ball coming towards him. And Nebraska will have a third down and 5 in another passing situation.
This is one of the biggest plays of the game so far as you look at that sea of red out here. Lincoln, Nebraska, it's a place I didn't think you could get to from Tallahassee after about the third plane change there yesterday.
I tell you, I didn't have that much trouble, but I understand you folks coming from Tallahassee had a lot of trouble. Of course, I came down from New England where it's beautiful this time of year. But more about that later. Third and 5. Quinn, nobody back to block. He's being rushed now over the middle. Complete to Jarvis Redwine. Now, does he have the first down? It'll be very close. Depends where they mark the football. I believe he is just short. They mark it just on the other side of the 30-yard line, and let's take a look at that one again.
All right, this is one thing you don't want to let them do, hit a pass to Redwine out in the open, because this guy is dangerous. And there was pretty good coverage there. And it's going to be short of the first down as you see 3 Seminoles putting a hit on Redwine. There'll be a lot of people following him everywhere he goes today.
Well, the Cornhuskers are going for it. 4th and a half yard at the Florida State 30, the real first crucial play of the ball game. Backs you in the eye, Franklin and Redwine. The pitch is to Jarvis. He fumbles the football, and Florida State tackles Redwine in the backfield. And they recover the fumble. So the first break of the game goes to the Seminoles. It looked like number 64, Jarvis Coursey, is on top of it, and Florida State takes over first and 10 at the 35.
Well, if you're going to stay with these guys here, you got to get some breaks, and that's definitely a break for the Seminoles. And now this offense has got to put it together and get it out of their end of the field.
So the first big break goes to Florida State with 9:01 left in the first quarter, no score. All right, let's see if the Seminoles can get a drive of their own going. Rick Stockstill with the backs in the eye formation. Williams goes in motion. First and 10 from the 35. Stockstill being rushed, and he's down on the safety blitz. Coming in there with Sammy Sims. And Jim, the Cornhuskers, just threw caution to the wind. Sims on a blitz, and nobody touched him.
Yeah, they blitzed the monster man, Sammy Sims. Sammy Sims, who had a broken jaw last year, and they didn't know how well he would return from that. Apparently is 100% well, and this is something the Seminoles have got to do. They haven't tried to establish a running attack because of their problems in the offensive line last week.
So it'll be second down and 21, a loss of 11 on the play, back to the Seminole 24-yard line. Now here's a kind of reverse to Michael Whiting. That'll go nowhere. A loss back to the 18-yard line. As coming in to shut that play down completely for the Nebraska Cornhusker, big number 92, Derry Nelson, who's one of the fastest defensive ends in the country. There he is, 92.
Yeah, Big Derry did a good job there. There was also a linebacker there. Williams was coming up very fast, and there were just too many red shirts there to do it to get outside. Coach Bowden does not like to see those backs cut the ball back upfield on the reverse, but he didn't have much choice that time.
No, he didn't, and the Seminoles, Jim, are marching backwards. It's now 3rd and 28. I don't envy Stockstill on this play. He's being rushed again, rolling to his right. Stockstill intended for Phil Williams, and Williams takes a hit. It was incomplete, way over his head, and the Seminoles will have to punt. Good coverage by Nebraska.
Well, and you hear this crowd come alive. I can tell you, they're really behind this Cornhusker team, and they need a great punt by Ron Stark here.
Yes,
Backed up down here to the 17-yard line and showing no offense so far.
Well, the punt returners for the University of Nebraska, Dave Legal is one of them, number 28. He's in your screen to the left. Here's the punt from Stark. It is a high spiral. Legal being chased back to his 24-yard line. He does have some running room, though. Legal trying to turn the corner. He'll be knocked down right at the 25, where it'll be 1st and 10 for the Cornhuskers, and we have a penalty flag. A penalty flag on the play. Could there be a clip? We'll have to wait and see. The ball right now is marked at the Nebraska 25.
The flag came a little late. We hope that it's not a late hit. So I believe it is a clip, though. It looks like Nebraska is backing up. That's right.
It is a clip. Well, this will push them back even farther, and of course there is no score. And should the Cornhuskers mess around with turnovers deep in their own territory, they could be in trouble. You know, Nebraska is one of the most penalized teams in the country. They averaged a penalty almost per series last week at Penn State.
Freshman Brian Williams was one of the first men down, and he is really establishing himself on the special teams. And he's a linebacker, and I remember a linebacker a few years back that first got the attention of the coaching staff on special teams, a fellow by the name of Paul Porowski, who was a leading tackler last week and the leading tackler on the team.
The clip is charged against number 41, Kim Baker. So Mr. Baker can't be feeling too well about things as Nebraska takes over 1st and 10 on their own 13. No score, 7:29 left in the first quarter. Here's the pitch back to Redwine. Again, he has trouble controlling, and Reggie Herring brings him down after a 2-yard gain up to the 15. So the defense has to stand strong here, Jim, and give the offense a little operating room.
Well, it is the most high-powered offense in the nation, but the Seminoles feel like they've got one of the best defenses in the nation, and it's going to be a classic struggle here all day long. Arthur Scott did a good job of fighting off the block on that side that time.
It'll be 2nd down, 8 yards to go. They give it a gain of 2 yards. Split out wide to the right, Tim McCready. Bobby Butler will be covering him man on man. Jeff Quinn rolling right, looking to throw, and he may tuck it away. No, he'll be bounced down at the 10-yard line by Reggie Herring, and he nailed Jeff Quinn for a loss.
Okay, we're going to have an instant replay on this as you see Quinn rolling out, and watch Herring. Just lowers his head, and Quinn very wisely held on to the ball and took the loss instead of throwing it away. You know, this offensive line that they're pushing around right now averages 255 pounds. They're 6'3.5" in average height, and they have an average 40-yard dash of 5.0, which is great for an offensive line.
I'm glad I'm up here and not down there, I'll tell you that. 3rd down and 12 for Jeff Quinn and the Cornhuskers. Andra Franklin is in the backfield along with Redwine, and coming up the middle for no gain are the Cornhuskers, and this will force a punt deep in Nebraska territory. So Ron Simmons helps make the tackle and forces a punt, and I'm telling you, there's going to be some pressure on this Nebraska punter. Doing the punting for the Cornhuskers, number 1, Scott Gamar. Scott Gamar, number 1, he'll be punting from his end zone. Gary Henry standing at the Seminole 42-yard line initially.
He's averaging 37.2 yards a kick, so they should get good field position out of this one.
Well, not that much pressure, really. The Seminoles stopped short of hitting the punter, and Henry has it at his own 47-yard line. Tries to retreat and get some running room, but he'll go down at the 45. The tackle is made by Joe Adams of the Cornhuskers. It'll be 1st and 10 for the Seminoles with excellent field position on their own 45-yard line.
That was a good kick and great coverage by Nebraska. The Seminoles have their best field position of the day. The defense has changed the momentum of the game around if the offense can just take over now.
Well, let's see what happens this time. The last time the offense marched, but they marched straight backwards. All right, Stock still at quarterback. The back's in the I formation, 1st and 10. Phil Williams in motion. Here's the pitch out to Ricky Williams. Williams gains about 3 yards up to the 48-yard line. We're nearing the 5-minute mark of the first quarter. No score. On Tallahassee's 27, Florida State football. The Seminoles and Cornhuskers. I'm Tom Mees with Jim Crosby. Go ahead, Jim.
Sorry, Tom. I think Coach Bowden took a little flack last week for staying with the run so long, but you see, they weren't able to do anything passing-wise to start with, and that's because they haven't established anything on the ground yet. They're going to try to do that now.
Well, Penn State tried that last week, and they did get around the outside sometime. However, Michael Whiting will get nowhere as he's pushed back for about a 2-yard loss. Back to the 46-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and 9. I was going to say that Penn State did turn the corner on Nebraska successfully a couple of times last week, but the Seminoles haven't really tried it thus far today.
Whiting ran into his own man there. It looked like he might have a little bit of room outside, but we can see it a lot better. We're about 200 feet up in the air, Tom.
Yes, we are high, and I do mean high atop the stadium. 3rd down, and will they call it 10 for Stockstill? A short drop, looking to throw now over the middle, incomplete. Stockstill was pressured. In all fairness to him, I believe the pass was intended for Phil Williams, and the Seminole offense is completely shut down again, and Florida State will have to punt.
Okay, that defense has got to duplicate what they did last time, and hopefully Ron Stark will kick it way down there and keep them bottled up, because you don't want to give this team too much of the field to work with there.
The Florida State offensive line has been penetrated successfully 3 or 4 times, and Stockstill hasn't had near the time to throw he had at Miami last week. Ron Stark is back to punt, and again, Dave Legal is back to receive the punt along with Ricky Lundquist. Stark's got plenty of time, a high spiral, and this will drive Legal back to the 13. He'll let it drop. The ball is inside the 5. Can the Seminoles down it? They do at the 2-yard line. The ball is down at the 2, or is it a touchback? It's a touchback. The referee is signaling that the ball did go into the end zone, so the Cornhuskers get a break as they'll move it up to the 20-yard line. And we'll be back with more Florida State football in just a moment.
If you think all insurance companies are alike, you like the difference Auto Owners makes. Not only the way Auto Owners handles claims fast.
Memorial Stadium, over 76,000, most of them in red and white, to see the Huskers and the Seminoles. No score, 4:15 left to go in the first quarter. Nebraska has it 1st and 10 at their own 20. Jeff Quinn, the excellent quarterback. He's a senior out of Ord, Nebraska. The pitch back to Jarvis Redwine. Redwine trying to turn the corner, and he does for 6 yards. Running him out of bounds there for the Seminoles, coming up to contain James Harris.
All right, on the replay, we'll see, I believe it was Monk Bonasort and Reggie Herring. As you see Redwine trying to get outside. Harris there too, just like you called it, and there's Bonasort making sure that he's down.
So a gain of 6 yards for Jarvis Redwine. It'll be 2nd down and 4 at the Cornhusker 26-yard line. The only turnover in the game, a Redwine fumble, but the Seminoles could do nothing with it. They've done nothing on offense so far today. The pitch back to Redwine again, trying to turn the left side, and Florida State cannot contain him before he gets the 1st down. Out to the 33-yard line, Monk Bonasort had to run him out, but Redwine is very quick.
Boy, it's just a thrill a minute when that guy gets outside. These fans just come alive. Jarvis Redwine won the Hinky Dinky Husker Award last year. That's given by a grocery chain out here. It's given to the most popular Husker, so they really look for Redwine to do big things every play.
The Hinky Dinky, you're not kidding me, are you?
No.
1st and 10, I'll deal with that later. 1st and 10 at the 33-yard line for Nebraska. Quinn straight back to throw on 1st down, rolling to his right now, and the ball is incomplete. A nice tackle that time for Florida State by Bobby Butler. The pass was intended for Anthony Steele, number 33, and before Steele could control it, Butler came over to belt him.
But the thing that is scary is that Anthony Steele was open out there, and he was one-on-one. That's a good man to be one-on-one with, Bobby Butler, because he's a pretty sure tackler. But they are getting men open on those passes. The problem is they're so devastating with their running game that they force you to try to stop that, and you get into single coverage situations a lot on these passes.
It'll be 2nd down, 10 yards to go for Nebraska at the 32-yard line. Quinn wants to pass again over the middle, intended and completed to John Noonan. John Noonan, who's listed as a tight end, number 95, is into Florida State territory at the 43.
We've got another look at it. Let's watch John Noonan as Quinn sails it right over the linebacker's head. Well, he's really over the cornerback's head there, and it's a safety forced to make the tackle, as James Harris was up a little too tight, and it was a big completion. They're down at the 43, Tom.
All right, 1st and 10 for Nebraska. 3:23 left to go in the first quarter of play. Jeff Quinn, again with the backs in the eye. He wants to throw again, and it is complete. Out to number 24. Tim McCready, and McCready is down to the Seminole 21-yard line. Another 1st down.
All right, we got another look at it, and as we said, it was a little disconcerting before when Anthony Steele, the wingback, got open, and this looks like about the same play, and he's wide open. They're trying to stop the run in the middle and giving them the outside there on those little passes.
McCready has hurt the Seminoles as he carries it down to the 21. 1st and 10 in Nebraska with their second threat of the ball game. First time down this low, they fumble the ball. Here's the give to Andre Franklin, and the back who does most of the blocking for Jarvis Redwine takes it himself up the middle for a nice gain down to the 14-yard line. Gain of 7. It'll be 2nd and 3.
In that defensive line now, Ron Simmons and James Gilbert are in, and Gilbert's coming off right now, but Gilbert moved over one step and he went right in the hole that Gilbert had vacated the last time. 95,
John Noonan, who caught a big pass moments ago, is now in. He will be split to the top of your screen. The tight end is Jeff Finn, big number 87. It'll be second down. They call it 2 to go now for Nebraska. Deep in Florida State territory. The pitch back to Redwine. Redwine inside the 10. Down to the 8-yard line before Reggie Herring brings him down and runs him out of bounds. It's 1st and goal for the Cornhuskers.
Boy, the Seminole defense is going to be called on here. Redwine had 3 players around him, but he just got out of it some way. He's not only fast, he runs with power. He weighs 203 pounds, so he's a strong runner.
I'll say is he's very, very fast, too. When you combine strength with quickness, it's awfully tough. Jarvis Redwine, who averages over 8 yards every time he carries the football. 1st and goal to Seminole 8-yard line. Andre Franklin and Redwine are the setbacks behind Quinn. Let's see what the Seminole defense can do here to stop the Cornhusker drive. Quinn straight back to throw, looking for the touchdown over the middle. Complete for the touchdown. Complete to Todd Brown, the split end, who was wide open in the end zone, Jim.
He was totally wide open. I don't understand how he got that free unless the backs got crossed up. And you see the balloons going up. It looks like the start of a Florida State game with these red balloons going up in the air. But they saved them until they got a touchdown, which they fully anticipated would come soon. And Nebraska's on top, 6-0. It's going to be tough.
Kevin Seigel is in to attempt the extra point. Jeff Quinn is the holder. The ball will be kicked from the 10-yard line. There is virtually no wind. The kick is up, and the kick is good. So with 1:54 left in the first quarter, the score, Nebraska 7, Florida State nothing. With 1:54 left to go in the first quarter of play, the Nebraska Cornhuskers are on the board. A pass from Quinn to his split end, Todd Brown, and the pass covered 8 yards. For the touchdown, Nebraska leads at 7-0. Kevin Seibel in there to kick off for Nebraska. Back deep in the end zone for Florida State is Dennis McKinnon, but Seibel's first kickoff to open the game sailed completely out of the end zone. So let's see what happens now. No wind to speak of today. This one is a high spinner, and McKinnon will field it at about 2 yards deep in the end zone. He'll come out with it. McKinnon trying to go up the middle. He'll be knocked down at the 18-yard line. 1st and 10 for the Seminoles at the 18. And let's see if the Florida State offense can get on track now, Jim.
Well, they definitely need to do something to get it out of this end of the field. And momentum is definitely on the side of the Big Red out here.
Seminole cheerleaders looking for something to cheer about there on the sideline. The Seminole bench is right down below our broadcast position. Rather unusual. Most places you go, the visiting team's bench is across the way. 1st and 10 for the Seminoles. Hardis Johnson and Phil Williams are split both to the left side. And now Williams goes in motion. Rick Stockstill, the quarterback. The pitch out goes to Harris. Harris wants to throw the ball downfield. He's got a man open. Oh, and Phil Williams was wide open. Well, there's something we haven't seen. The ball was just overthrown, but let's give Harris some credit. He was under a lot of pressure back there.
All right, we'll have another look at it. Larry Harris, a freshman from Gainesville, Florida, on the pitch out. It looks like it's going to be a sweep. He disguises it real well, keeps it tucked under his arm, and then he throws, and he was hit just about at the time he was throwing, and that would have been a long gainer. I don't think Phil Williams would have outrun that monster man, but I think he would have gotten way down to about the 30 or so.
Well, that's the kind of play you need to sort of open up the game a little bit. All right, 2nd down and 10. Stockstill being pressured on the rollout to complete to Whiting. Whiting gets away from one man. Michael Whiting up near the 30-yard line. He's got the first down, and the first down of the game for the Seminoles.
I think you can look for a wild, reckless game from here on out. The Seminoles going to have to pull out all the stops, Tom. I like that. I like Stockstill rolling out. He's been dropping back in the pocket, and they've been getting tremendous pressure on him. And Stockstill can tuck it under and run if he has to.
All right, it'll be 1st and 10 for Florida State at the Seminoles' own 29-yard line. Hardis Johnson will split to the top of your screen, and Phil Williams split wide to the bottom of your screen to the left side of the line. The backs are in the split formation behind Stockstill. Ricky gives it off to Whiting. It's a running play, and Whiting loses control of the football for a moment, but regains it and gains 9 yards near the first down marker up at the 38-yard line. Good run by Mike Whiting.
Now the little razzle-dazzle has opened it up a little bit. They've got him a little off balance in there, and we'll see it on the replay. Ricky Stockstill calling signals, and he hands it off on a little delay, and Whiting finds the hole well, keeps his feet, and goes up for about an 8-yard gain, Tom.
They call it a 9-yard gain to be exact. 2nd down and 1 for Florida State. The first concerted drive of the day for the Seminoles. The give on the 2nd down call is to the up-back Whiting. It will be very close to see if he gets the first down. We're at the 32nd mark now of the first quarter. Nebraska 7, Florida State nothing. The referee has called timeout for a measurement, so we'll keep it here while they measure and see if Florida State has the first down. And now the referee says, Mr. Chain Gang, come on in. Here he comes, and we'll see exactly how close or how far away the Seminoles are.
All right, it's 31 seconds remaining in the quarter. 7-0 Nebraska on top, and they're going to take a look at that, and they stretch it out, and it's a little bit short.
All right, 3rd and inches.
Yeah, 6 inches, I'd say.
So a big play again for the Florida State offense. Coming into the game now for the Seminoles is Sam Childers. All right, 3rd down and inches. The big red crowd here imploring their defense on. And now we have one of the Nebraska men jumping off sides, and Florida State's going to get it the easy way. Well, you know, the center in there today for Florida State, Jerry Coleman, and he no sooner got his hands on the football as he was knocked over, and it's illegal procedure against Nebraska.
That was David Clark that jumped off sides. He's just regained his starting position. They have a brother combination, Jimmy and Toby Williams, who are walk-ons from Washington, D.C., and who are both excellent athletes. They had been playing the end and tackle position, respectively. David Clark is now healthy, and he took Toby Williams' place today.
All right, it's 1st and 10 for the Seminoles at their own 44-yard line. 25 seconds left in the first quarter. Nebraska on top, 7-0. Hope you're enjoying the football game. Other than Nebraska lead, Stockstill complete. Complete over the middle to Hardis Johnson. And he's got a first down in Nebraska territory at the 44-yard line. So the quick one over the middle is wide open, and Stockstill hits his man.
Let's watch Rick Stockstill on the pass. He's completing 68% of his passes coming into this game, and Hardis Johnson with another fine reception. Hardis won his way back into a starting role with that performance last week, that incredible catch he had against Miami last week.
Well, the Seminoles will have to hurry to get off a play before the end of the quarter, and they do not. That's the end of the first quarter of play. The score from Lincoln, Nebraska is Nebraska 7, Florida State nothing.